from Dr. Richard Gierak of Siskiyou County, which is really where Defend Rural America was born, because of the experiences that I had up there that profoundly impacted me, and you're getting some sense of that here tonight. So Dr. Gierak?
Thank you. In the mid-'80s, myself and my family moved to Siskiyou County. I was going to semi-retire there. At that particular point in time, what we found that Siskiyou County was the second richest rural county in the state of California, with over 8,500 students in the school system. Then the spotted owl hit. Within a very short time, we're down to 2 lumber mills that are barely operational. And our school population has dropped to less than 3,000. People couldn't find jobs, had to leave the county. And then in 2001, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service distributed a bulletin. The spotted owl was in trouble again. And the basis of the trouble was really clear. The forests were too dense for the spotted owl to hunt properly. Great job, Fish and Wildlife Service. Right now they have a new spotted owl program that's going to affect 54 counties in Northern California, Oregon, and the state of Washington. Let's hope they do a better job. But based on their record so far, forget it. Then in '97 they listed coho salmon. First of all, coho salmon were not even a native species to the Klamath Basin, so the listing was illegal to begin with. Then they wanted to change the definition of essential fish habitat, which means they could only affect and work on water and substrate. They wanted to change it to the ESA critical habitat, which could give them control over 500 feet away from the bank of a river. That would encompass my entire property. If you wanted to put a roof on your house or do anything on your property, you'd have to file an environmental impact report and get federal waivers and cost thousands of dollars and could take years. We fought that. Fortunately, I was able to go ahead and be the representative for the states of Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and California state ranges, representing 1.2 million voters. We defeated that proposition. And then the local range in Siskiyou County, we filed a lawsuit with Pacific Legal Foundation against that listing, and the judge found that the listing by National Marine Fisheries Service was illegal, capricious, and unlawful. And the listings in Southern Oregon and Northern California for coho salmon vanished. Then, in 2002, there was a huge salmon kill of over 30,000 salmon on the lower Klamath River. Immediately, the environmentalists jumped up and said, it's the toxic algae in the reservoirs above our hydroelectric dams. Well, in 2009, we had the Center for Disease Control from Atlanta come out, and they went ahead and tested the waters and people that were there, and gee, it's not toxic. However, that was their argument, and in 2006, they got the coho listing relisted again in an appeals process. Unbelievable. The reality is that the pollution that killed the salmon had nothing to do with toxic pollution. The Hoopa tribe went ahead and called for a water pulse for their water boat celebration. Now at that time, the salmon were in the estuary, just off the edge of the ocean. And so they put this pulse of water in so they could put their boats in the water. That told the salmon, time to go upriver and spawn. And then they turned the water back off. And you could see thousands of salmon in water so shallow, they couldn't even swim. And that's how the real cause of the death. Then in 2006, as I said, they relisted these young salmon, even though they're genetically identical. And an expert panel report in 2010 stated clearly that these coho salmon were not from the Klamath Basin. They were from Cascadia, Oregon, from the Willamette River, again proving that these were not native fish. This is really a ridiculous thing. If they remove these dams, we're talking about 20 million cubic yards of toxic sludge. It will destroy hundreds of native species in that river below. It will be a direct violation of the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. The Klamath River was designated such in 1981. And all the water requirement you need to meet is the same as it was on the date of designation. And the North Coast Water Board wants to clean up the water and raise that level. And even that's illegal because of the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. These loss of reservoirs not only do that, but almost all of our citizens that live along that river and communities rely on wells, and they're shallow wells because they're getting the water really from the Klamath River. They remove those dams, we're going to lose our wells for the entire communities and people that own property along that river. Plus, as the sheriff has pointed out, the Sheriff's Department and police will not have access for search and rescue missions. And fire helicopters, which are a necessity for putting out wildfires, they won't have reservoirs to get water anymore. You can just imagine how much danger they're putting all of us in. And the other thing is, historically, the Klamath River was called the Klamath River, Indian term for the Stinky River. When the first settlers came here, they found waters that were inhospitable, that even their jackasses wouldn't drink it. And now, because of the reservoirs, we have cleaner waters, we have wonderful salmon runs. And that's because of the storage of the water, and we have huge agriculture and grazing, and all of that's going to vanish if they remove these dams. Plus, inundating floods to private property owners and communities along that river. In 1962, the last dam was built, was Iron Gate Dam. It was built specifically to stop inundating floods to citizens and communities downriver. And that's another one they want to take out. Historically, in a late summer, the Klamath River would dry up into nothing but marshes and swamps. I doubt that any Indian boat celebration ever happened before they built the dams. And these forest road closures, they claim it's for good forest management. And again, it deletes access to not only police for search and rescue, but also to fire vehicles. And not only that, now the Greenies are convinced we cannot even use fire retardants in the helicopter drops or plane drops anymore. Just wonderful. I think they want to see all of our forests burned to the ground. And a few years ago, I've been a suction dredger, and just strictly recreational. 3 years ago, they shut it off completely. This wound up not only stopping thousands of miners that come up there and support the community and the economy of Siskiyou County, but we've had RV parks closed, restaurants closed, motels closed, hundreds and hundreds of jobs lost and businesses collapsed simply because of that. And the other problems in the county, if you find a dead fish on your property and National Marine Fisheries hears about it, that's a $25,000 fine. And they have National Marine Fisheries law enforcement officers knocking on people's doors and wanting to go ahead and have access, giving them the rights that they have first. You'd think we were all criminals. And the attempts to charge for our well waters now. If they remove these dams, we're looking at electrical costs that will be triple what we're paying now. And it will put agriculture and ranching totally out of business. We have to remember the Constitution. It's for the people, by the people. In the 2010 election, Siskiyou County voted 80% to retain those dams. They don't care. This administration has its green agenda, and we have to do something to put the brakes on it. Thank you for listening.